Welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all elements. I am Lunar D8, and I just watched Nicolas Cage's new movie, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It's a hilarious movie. It's got some action stuff too, but honestly, it's mainly a comedy. But it's a very good movie. Though, I will say this. Toward the very end, right after the climax of the movie, I expected something very, very different. Now, I'm going to try to avoid saying a spoiler about this, but this may technically count as a spoiler. But even if you don't want to be spoiled, just keep listening to this anyway, because I don't care if I spoil the movie for you. So, yeah. I'm still going to at least try not to spoil it, so I don't think this counts as a spoiler. But toward the end, there's a scene where Nicolas Cage is being held hostage. He's going to be shot in the head, and then someone throws him a knife. And then he stabs the other person, and then everyone lives happily ever after. But the thing is this: it's such a odd transition after it that I was immediately expecting a bit of a darker twist, and that darker twist never came. It ended on not only a happy note, but an ambiguous note of a happy note. In both, even though it's vague, both ways you can interpret it, is still a happy ending. Because what happens is that right after he stabs the guy and everyone says they're fine, the actors and actresses that play a lot of people wind up being different people. And then you go to a movie theater, and it was all just a movie, and Nicolas Cage is getting a standing ovation. And of course, Neil Patrick Harris is there. I still have to say, Neil Patrick Harris, great actor and great singer. I know he's a vocal coach. I'm your worst nightmare, Neil Patrick Harris. Not because I have anything against you, but because I can't sing. Seriously, I've done so many karaoke videos. I am a vocal coach's worst nightmare. If Neil Patrick Harris ever hears my voice, I am what he will wake up in the middle of the night screaming about, which, I'm sorry, but it's just the way I sing. Listen to some System Down. The Hypnotize out, the fifth album. But on the way home while driving, I think I'm getting off topic. Main point I'm trying to say is this. In the theater, not in the physical theater I was sitting in, but in the theater in the movie where Nicolas Cage was getting the standing ovation, they are a bit vague and ambiguous about whether or not it actually happened or not. The whole thing with the CIA and all that may have never happened, and it was just a screenplay they wrote, or all of it actually happened, and they made it into a movie afterward. But and then of course the scene after that where Nicolas Cage is sitting talking about his big tarantula belt, and everything seems hunky-dory with his family. It just, given the way the movie started, and especially, like, there were things that Nicolas Cage was doing for comedic effect in the movie, but it's just, you were face palming in the theater. I was like face palming. Oh my god, no! Especially the piano scene. I'm like, oh my god! And it's just, whew. And you're like, this is such a drastic transition. I just couldn't help but feel like, like all of a sudden, like Neil Patrick Harris or his family or Chavez or any of the people who are going to look at him, and all of a sudden half their face fucking melt off. And then you go back to the scene where Nicolas Cage was being held at gunpoint, and you find out he was either wasn't able to stab the guy at all, or after he stabbed him, he's laying there on that concrete at that embassy, bleeding out, having been shot in the chest, and Nicolas Cage is dying. Because, like I said, the whole thing is like, and of course they foreshadowed it really fucking hard about the knife in the fucking Jeep. I mean, they foreshadowed it a lot, though they kept calling it a truck for some reason. But yeah, there's a scene where he's being held, the person's behind him with a gun to Nicolas Cage's head, and it just, they, you know, the one girl throws it to his daughter, or kicks it to his daughter, and daughter like throws it to him, and he like grabs it out of midair and turns around and immediately stabs the dude behind him in the heart, and then they all run. Which here's another weird thing: it's like as everyone was running around, why did we zoom in on the boobs? Like literally, there was like a close pan and shot of people running with jiggle physics, and I'm like, what? And it's just, again, that added a tiny bit more surrealism. That it's just, it was almost like a huge different change in tone. And it's just, and of course the lighting, the actors changing, but most of all is the fact that they're all hugging and saying, yes, everyone lived, everything worked out, and it's a happy ending. And you're like, and you're panning up, and as it does the effect that's showing it's a movie, I was expecting immediately to snap back Nicolas Cage bleeding out on the fucking concrete. Instead, we go to a theater. He's getting a standing ovation for his movie. And I'm like, this has got to be all in his head. He probably got shot, and the blood loss and the shock, like he's dying, and he's like having a dream about like how he expected it would go down. But no, we don't snap back to reality. And then we go on with the scene where he's talking about his belt and shit, and it's like, and it even becomes more like it's just, it doesn't feel real. Like it feels, contrived, like belittles the story, and that's not what I mean by it. Because it's an amazing story. I really enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed the movie. And contrived is not the word. It's just like the whole thing they've been criticizing him is for being self-centered and talking about himself nonstop, and how no one else could fucking stand it. And then at the very end, his family and everyone's all hunky dory, and they're all like, all he's doing is talking about himself, and they're all just enthralled about it, like surrounding him with admiration, whether it be the people at the theater, the heroic ending, or even just like everything's apparently like, it seems too much like a fantasy, and you're like, it's got to be all in his head. Like any second, it's going to snap back to that scene at the embassy, and he wasn't fast enough with the knife. Either he didn't manage to stab the guy at all, or he stabbed him, but he still got shot. And then the ending of the movie would be Nicolas Cage bleeding out and dying. But that's not what happened. Also, I kind of waited around for an end credits scene. There was no after credits scene. But, yeah. But all in all, it was a great movie. It's just that ending, I was expecting it to take a very dark twist, and that never came. But that would have been a very different mood for the ending of the movie. Because the movie basically tried to end on a happy, upbeat note about, I guess, love and the power of friendship and shit. Like basically My Little Pony. And I was like more expecting like an ending like from the Like you guys, you're familiar with like, the ending of the Golden Age arc of Berserk. Like I was expecting that. Though if you ever had a chance, I would definitely recommend HBI Duquesne's abridged version of Berserk. Then again, while everyone has heard of Team 4-Star Dragon Ball Z abridged, there's also alternate reality Dragon Ball Z done by Gozar. So that's pretty cool too. Kind of tired. I should have been asleep a long time ago. Maybe I'll take a nap after this. Maybe I won't. Another thing I want to say is this. Of course, the Sonic 2 movie, the end credit scene for that showed Shadow the Hedgehog. And of course, it's up in the air whether or not Robotnik got killed at the end of the second movie. But I'll say this. I like Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. I think he did a phenomenal job. But he did say he's wanting to retire. And that's his call. But what's kind of funny, because, the whole Nicolas Cage was talking about wanting to retire during the movie, too. But that's his call. No matter what, I think they're going to make a Sonic 3. And I imagine Jim Carrey that even if he retires, he might come back just to do that role. Because he does a phenomenal job, and I think he would nail it for whatever they do for Sonic 3. And that's the thing, while Jim Carrey is primarily a comedian, and there, of course, it is some comedy. It is a family movie, Sonic, I would say. It's suitable for everyone. But I do feel Jim Carrey is true to the role. It's a different interpretation, but the same can be said of any of the Jokers or Batmans for any of the live-action movies. They're not exactly the comic books, but they're a welcome interpretation and enjoyable to watch. After all, why can't I have more than one flavor of Batman? That being said, if Jim Carrey decides he does not want to be Dr. Robotnik for Sonic 3, as long as no matter what, I feel Jim Carrey should have the first option. But if Jim Carrey decides that he does not want to be Dr. Robotnik ever again, then as long as he, gives his blessing, I think Gabriel Iglesias should be Dr. Robotnik. Mainly because he's a hilarious comedian and a great actor. And again, just like how Jim Carrey did with Dr. Robotnik, while Jim Carrey is primarily a comedian, he played Dr. Robotnik as a fairly serious character. Of course, it's got some comedic moments. You don't want it to be too dark. After all, Sonic the Hedgehog is not a part of the DC universe. Yes, I'm making a Deadpool reference. Yes, it is a JoJo reference! But it's just, he's funny, a good actor, and I think Gabriel Iglesias would play the role fairly true. Besides, I'm pretty sure Gabriel Iglesias has played all the Sonic games, and if he hasn't, I think it'd be kind of neat to watch him do a Let's Play of all the Sonic games. Sorry, my own nerdy interests are coming out on this. But Shadow the Hedgehog, Nicolas Cage. I think Nicolas Cage would make an amazing Shadow the Hedgehog. Bye.